Captain Lex Ward sat alone inside the wreckage of his dropship. The metal around him was twisted and burned. Sparks flew from broken wires. Smoke drifted through the cracked windows. Everything was broken. His ship had been shot down just hours ago, and now he was stranded on a world no human was supposed to visit. The planet was called Zeros V, known across human space as a death world. That meant the environment here was too dangerous for normal life. It had deadly creatures, harsh weather, poisonous plants, and strange energy readings that confused sensors. No human colony had ever survived here. Most ships stayed far away. Warnings were clear: do not land, do not explore, do not make contact. But Lex didn't have a choice. He was part of a patrol fleet near the edge of the galaxy when his ship picked up a strange distress signal. It wasn't from Earth or any human colony. It was alien. Weak, broken, and filled with static, but still clear enough to understand one thing: help. We made a mistake. Before he could report it, something fired on his ship. A glowing beam came out of the planet and tore through his engines. Lex had no time to react. He crash-landed in the jungle, barely surviving. Now, here he was, stuck in a deadly place with no backup. He stepped out of the wreck, wearing his armor and carrying a plasma rifle. The jungle around him was thick and strange. The trees were twisted like snakes, with bark that pulsed as if it was alive. Their leaves were deep blue and moved even when there was no wind. Vines hung like ropes, some of them glowing faintly. In the dark, Lex heard constant noise, chirping, hissing, growling from all directions, but he couldn't see anything moving. That made it worse. The jungle was watching him, waiting. His suit warned him the air was barely breathable. He had filters, but not forever. His water supply was limited. Time was against him. But he had a goal: find the source of the signal. Maybe there were survivors. Maybe someone still needed help. He followed the signal deeper into the jungle. The further he went, the stranger the place became. The ground was covered in a type of moss that changed colors when he stepped on it. Some plants snapped shut like mouths when he brushed against them. A tree bled red sap when he touched it. The sap smelled like iron and smoke. His helmet scanner beeped. He was close. Up ahead, half buried in mud and vines, was a crashed alien escape pod. The pod was round and made of black metal, with glowing blue lights along the edge. One side had been ripped open not by a crash, but by something from the outside. Long, deep claw marks scratched through the metal. The hatch was missing. Inside the pod, he saw green blood, still fresh. It wasn't human. It smelled sharp, like acid. He looked around quickly. No bodies. No signs of who or what had been inside. Just broken pieces of alien tech, torn straps, and shattered glass. Suddenly, his helmet picked up a signal, a voice on an old alien frequency. It was weak and full of static, but it sent a chill down his spine. Help. Please. They're coming. We didn't mean to wake it. Lex froze. The voice sounded scared, desperate. He looked around again, gripping his rifle tighter. The jungle behind him was completely still. No wind, no movement. Then he noticed something. The trees. They were moving, but not like trees in the wind. They were swaying slowly, silently toward him. Their branches bent unnaturally, reaching. The blue leaves turned to face him, like eyes opening. Something deep in the jungle was pushing forward. Something big, something smart. Lex stepped back. His instinct screamed at him to run. He didn't know what was watching him, but it wasn't friendly. He raised his weapon, slowly turning to scan the jungle. His heart pounded in his chest. The sound of distant clicking echoed between the trees. It was getting closer. He knew one thing now: he was not alone. Something had seen him. Something that had destroyed the escape pod. And it was still hungry. The voice in his helmet spoke one last time. If you're hearing this, run. Don't let it see you. Don't let it. The signal cut off. Lex's helmet went silent. Then, from behind the trees, two glowing blue eyes appeared low to the ground, wide apart and blinking in unison. Lex backed away slowly, not taking his eyes off them. And then, just as he turned to run, the jungle exploded around him. Branches snapped. Trees toppled. Something huge and fast rushed out of the dark, heading straight for him. Lex sprinted through the razor grass, ducking under vines and jumping over roots. Sharp blades sliced his armor. He didn't stop. Behind him, the thing chased, silent, powerful. But Lex wasn't just running. He was leading it away from the signal. If someone was still alive, they had to be protected. He didn't know what he was facing yet. But one thing was clear: this planet was hiding something. Something old. Something that should have stayed buried. And now, it was awake. Lex ran through the jungle as fast as he could. Behind him, something huge was chasing him, fast, silent, and deadly. The trees bent and snapped as it moved. It didn't make footsteps, but the ground still shook under its weight. Lex didn't know what it looked like yet, but he felt its presence: cold, hungry, and ancient. His armor sensors screamed warnings. Whatever this thing was, it gave off high levels of unknown energy. The signal was confusing the scanners. Lex couldn't lock onto it, and worse, it could sense him. His heat, his motion, maybe even his thoughts. He needed to disappear. Fast. Lex spotted a river cutting through the jungle up ahead. The water was dark and fast-moving. Without thinking, he dove in. The cold hit him like a hammer, but he let the current pull him under. He stayed beneath the surface, holding his breath. The icy water numbed his skin but masked his heat signature. Weighted. Up above, the thing reached the riverbank. Lex could see its shape through the water. It was tall, much taller than a human, its body covered in black plates like armor. Long, sharp limbs moved like blades. It had no face, only glowing blue eyes, 6 of them blinking in a strange rhythm. It stopped, sniffed the air. Then turned and vanished into the trees. Lex slowly climbed out of the river, coughing and dripping wet. He was safe for now. But he knew it wasn't over. That thing, whatever it was hunting him. It didn't chase like an animal. It tracked like a soldier. He had to keep moving. Hours passed as Lex moved through the jungle. Every step felt like a trap. He saw signs of life: small creatures, flying insects, strange glowing birds, but none of them came close. Even the local wildlife was afraid. The entire planet felt like it was hiding from something. Then he saw an alien village hidden in the trees, covered in vines. The buildings were smooth and round, made from some kind of white stone. The architecture looked organic, almost like the buildings had grown from the ground, but the village was dead. The doors were ripped open. Walls were scorched with black burns. Strange symbols were scratched into the stones, warning signs in a language Lex didn't understand. He stepped carefully through the empty homes, rifle raised. The silence was thick. Inside one building, he found something movement. A shape, small and shaking, curled in a corner dot. It was an alien Athrixian, one of the intelligent insectoid species known for peaceful science and mining colonies. Its body was cracked and bleeding green. Its wings were torn. But it was still alive. Lex lowered his weapon and approached slowly. "It's okay," he said, voice calm. "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm human, Captain Lex Ward." The Thrixians. Eyes opened wide. It struggled to speak. "You came. You answered the signal." Lex nodded. "Who sent it? What happened here?" The alien coughed. "We made a mistake. We dug too deep. Woke something. We thought we could control it." Lex frowned. "Control what?" The Thrixian whispered, "The god that sleeps below. We found its chamber beneath the mines. It wasn't dead. Just dreaming. But now it knows we're here." Lex's heart pounded. This wasn't just a wild predator. Something ancient lived beneath this planet, something powerful. Something worshipped or feared. The Thrixian grabbed his arm weakly. "It feeds on fear, on blood. It changed the jungle. Made it its body. The hunters are only its eyes." Lex was about to ask more when a loud sound echoed through the village screams. Not human. Not alien. Something inhuman. Brutal. Lex ran outside and saw them. Creatures pouring in from the jungle. Dozens of them. Black, tall, with long blade-like arms and glowing eyes. The same type that had hunted him earlier, but now there were many. They tore through the village like a storm. Buildings collapsed. Stones shattered. The sky filled with smoke and screaming. Lex shouted, pulling the Thrixian behind him. "Stay low." He raised his plasma rifle and opened fire. Blue bolts of energy lit up the night. Each shot slammed into the creatures, sending pieces flying. One exploded in a flash of fire. Another screamed and melted under the blast. But they kept coming. Unstoppable. Lex didn't back down. He kept moving, firing, reloading, ducking. This was what humans were made for. Survival, war, Deathworlders, the strongest species in the galaxy, because Earth itself was a Deathworld too. The Thrixian watched in awe as Lex fought back, holding the creatures at bay alone. But there were too many. They began to surround him. Lex threw a grenade and grabbed the Thrixian. "We're not dying here." He charged through the broken village, blasting a path forward. He kicked open a wall and jumped into a lower tunnel, dragging the alien with him. The creatures followed, but slower. Confused by the narrow space. Down in the dark, Lex turned to the Thrixian. "Tell me where this thing is." "The god." "The one?" "Sleeping underground." The alien's eyes widened. "You're going to face it?" Lex nodded. "I didn't come here to die. I came here to finish what you started." The Thrixian pointed down a narrow passage. "The canyon. Inside there's a deep hole. The old mining site. That's where it sleeps." Lex helped the alien sit down and reloaded his weapon. Then he looked toward the tunnel. "I'm going in." He walked away deeper into the dark. Back in the jungle, the creatures stopped. The air grew colder. Something far below the planet's surface stirred. A mind, ancient and powerful, opened one eye and began to watch. Asterisk. Lex Ward moved through the narrow tunnels beneath the alien jungle. His boots crunched over old mining tracks and broken stones. The air was cold and damp, with a heavy smell of rust and rot. Every breath felt like it carried secrets ancient and dangerous. His weapon was ready. His armor was scratched and dirty. But his eyes were sharp. He was going deeper underground towards something the aliens feared. Something they had accidentally awakened that the Thrixian survivor had told him about it, a sleeping god buried under the planet. The miners had dug too, deep, hoping to find energy or rare crystals. Instead, they had found a chamber. Inside was the Titan, not a machine, not a beast, but something far older. A living mind, buried for thousands of years. Now, it was waking up. Lex didn't fully understand what it was yet, but he knew it had to be stopped. The alien hunters, the black creatures with glowing eyes, were just pieces of it. Servants. Eyes. Maybe even parts of its body. And they were multiplying fast. If the Titan rose, it wouldn't just destroy this world. It would spread to other planets, other systems. It could reach Earth. Lex had one mission now: kill it before it fully awakens. He reached a wide opening in the rock. Before him stood a massive cavern filled with sharp rock pillars and glowing fungus. In the center, a giant pit dropped straight down into darkness. The walls were covered in alien symbols, warnings, prayers, maybe both. This was the place. Lex activated a flare and threw it in. It dropped for a long time before hitting the bottom. He saw flashes of movement down there. Large shapes. Breathing. Waiting. He attached a rope and lowered himself in. As he descended, the air grew even colder. Strange whispers filled his ears, not from his helmet, but from his mind. Thoughts that weren't his own. Images of worlds burning. Cities falling. He shook his head and kept going. At the bottom of the pit, he landed in a wide chamber. It didn't look natural. The stone was smooth, polished, and shaped into massive walls. A forgotten temple. Or maybe a prison. In the center of the floor, something pulsed. A shape half buried, half alive. A creature made of stone, bone, and black metal. It had no clear form, but one enormous eye opened in the center of it. The eye was deep blue and filled with stars. It looked at Lex, and Lex felt its voice, not in his ears, but inside his skull. Another comes to die, another mind to break. Lex raised his weapon. I'm not here to die. I'm here to end this. The Titan's voice rumbled like thunder. You are flesh, weak. You cannot stop the awakening. Lex aimed and fired. Plasma blast hit the Titan's eye. The chamber shook. Rocks fell. The creature screamed, not in pain, but in anger. Its body began to shift, growing larger. Limbs stretched out of the ground. The walls bent and twisted. It was becoming the cave itself. Lex ran. He ducked behind a pillar and checked his gear. He had one last emergency charge, a mini-nuke, small but powerful. If he placed it right, he could destroy the chamber. The Titan's voice followed him. You are alone. You are nothing. This world will burn, and yours next. Lex grit his teeth. That's where you're wrong. He slammed the charge into a crack in the wall near the creature's core. Lights blinked. The countdown began. 30 seconds. The Titan screamed. Its limbs lashed out, smashing rocks and sending debris flying. Lex dodged and sprinted for the rope. Climbing with bloody fingers, He pushed upward as fast as he could. The tunnel shook. Dust filled his lungs. Rocks broke loose. He reached the top and jumped free just as the bomb exploded. Shockwave burst from the pit, shaking the whole cavern. Fire and energy blasted upward. The Titan's roar filled the world. Then Silence. Lex coughed, wiping blood from his face. Was it over? He crawled to the surface tunnel and followed the dim light. When he emerged from the canyon, the sun was rising. Smoke covered the jungle. Fires burned. But it was quiet until he looked to the sky. Dropships. Hundreds of them. Lex blinked in shock. The Terran Vanguard had arrived, giant warships from Earth's military. They filled the sky like a metal storm. Engines roared. Troop carriers landed one after another. The jungle trembled under the weight of their arrival. Soldiers poured out, Deathworlders just like him. Trained on Earth, born to survive the worst. Built for battle. One of the commanders approached Lex. "Captain Ward, we received your signal. The aliens called for help. So we came." Lex smiled weakly. "You're late." "Not too late," the commander replied, looking around. "What happened down there?" Lex looked back toward the canyon. "I stopped the Titan, for now." Then the ground shook again. Everyone turned. The sky darkened. High above, something massive began to move. A second moon. One that hadn't moved before, but now it did. The shape cracked open like an egg. It wasn't a moon. It was another creature bigger than the Titan, dormant for millions of years. And now, because of the battle below, it was waking up too. Lex stared up at the sky, eyes wide. "What the hell did we just start?" The commander whispered. "This isn't a rescue. It's a war." The jungle began to scream again. The sky burned. Captain Lex Ward stood at the edge of the canyon, staring up in shock. What he thought was a second moon, cold, silent, and lifeless, was not a moon at all. It was alive. Now, it was waking up. Its rocky shell cracked open like a hatching egg. Massive plates of stone shifted and broke apart, revealing a shape hidden underneath. A creature the size of a small planet unfolded its limbs. It had no face, but dozens of glowing blue eyes lined its surface like stars. Its body was smooth and dark, stretching across the sky like a storm cloud. This wasn't just a Titan. It was something worse, the World Eater, the true god buried in orbit, sleeping in plain sight above the planet. And now, because Lex had destroyed the one underground, this one had stirred. All around him, the jungle screamed. The alien Deathworld came alive again, trees twisting, vines slithering, animals fleeing in every direction. The ground cracked open. Lava spilled from deep wounds in the earth. The sky turned red, but Earth's forces were ready. Dropships and carriers flew into formation. Thousands of Terran soldiers rushed out of the landers. Each one was armored, armed, and trained to fight in deadly environments. Deathworlders, toughest of all species. Humans had always survived the impossible. Now they were Earth's sword. Lex ran toward the command post where officers were setting up equipment. "We need to act now," he said. "That thing up there, it's more than just a monster. It's a weapon. It's a mind. It's waking up the whole planet." General Ao, a tall, no-nonsense leader, looked up at the floating beast. "What's the plan, Captain?" Lex glanced back at the jungle. "We can't fight it from the ground. We need to strike from orbit." We hit it with everything we've got before it fully awakens. Agreed, Io said. Get to the command ship. I'll. Coordinate ground forces. Buy us time. As Lex ran to the shuttle, the sky lit up again. The World Eater moved. One of its massive arms reached down, slowly turning toward the surface. And when it pointed, everything under it died. A beam of pure energy shot from the sky like a sword of light. It cut through the jungle, carving a glowing path a mile wide. Entire forests vanished. Mountains cracked. Dozens of soldiers were vaporized in seconds. This was no longer just a survival mission. It was an extinction event. Lex's shuttle blasted off just in time. Inside, he strapped into the seat and checked his armor. His rifle was low on ammo. His suit was damaged, but he was still breathing. That meant he could still fight Dot as the shuttle reached orbit. He saw the full size of the creature. It was miles across, larger than anything he'd ever seen. It spun slowly above the planet like a black sun. Its eyes glowed, searching, calculating. It wasn't just alive. It was aware. The command ship, the TSS Hammerfall, waited in high orbit, a massive cruiser with thick armor and a full weapons array. Lex landed in the hangar and ran straight to the bridge. Admiral Chun stood at the center. Her eyes met Lex's. You saw it? I was there when it woke up, Lex said. We kill it now or it spreads. Chun nodded. Weapons online, target locked, firing in 60 seconds. The ship turned, aiming its orbital cannons at the creature. Outside, dozens of other ships did the same. Missiles loaded. Energy cores charged. Then the creature moved again. The World Eater let out a sound, not a roar, but something deeper. A pulse. A shockwave of sound and thought. Lex fell to his knees. So did half the crew. The pulse hit their minds like a hammer. Visions flashed, planets falling, stars dying, galaxies swallowed in silence. The World Eater showed them what it had done before, in other galaxies. To other worlds, it had ended civilizations before Earth even existed. It would do it again. Lex fought back the fear. He stood, clutching the edge of a console. No, he said aloud, not this time. He pressed the override. Fire all weapons. The Hammerfall and every ship in the fleet unleashed everything they had. Torpedoes screamed through space. Plasma beams lit the stars. Kinetic rods the size of buildings punched forward at near light speed. The creature responded with another beam, but this time it missed. The shots hit. The World Eater's body shook. Plates cracked. Blue light spilled out like blood. Parts of it began to fall toward the planet, crashing through clouds and mountains below. The jungle howled as its god was wounded, but it wasn't dead. Not yet. It turned slowly, aiming at the Hammerfall. Energy gathered at its center. Lex didn't wait. He grabbed a manual targeting control and locked onto a core node inside the creature's eye. One shot, he muttered, right between the stars. The final weapon was a fusion spear, the strongest in the fleet, meant only for planet killers. Lex fired. The beam flew straight and true right into the World Eater's eye. There was a moment of silence. Then the creature screamed a sound so deep it shook every ship. Its body began to fold in on itself. Black light burst from its cracks. It twisted, burned, and finally collapsed, folding into itself like a dying star. Then gone. Silence returned to space. The skies above Zero's V cleared. On the surface, the jungle stopped moving. The hunters dropped lifeless to the ground. The world exhaled. Lex fell back into his chair, shaking. It was over, for now. Later, as Earth forces cleaned up the remains, Lex stood by the edge of the canyon where it all began. The Thrixian survivor, now resting with medics, nodded in thanks. "You saved more than us," it said. "You stopped a god." Lex looked up at the stars. "No," he said, "we did." He knew something now, something deep. Humanity was not the biggest, not the oldest, not the smartest, but they were the most dangerous. They were Deathworlders. And when someone cried out for help, they came, and they brought total destruction.